job of a video game developer might seem like it's all fun and games, but it's no easy feat. Making a video game is like juggling multiple balls at once, except they're all on fire, everyone is made of something different, and there's someone behind you yelling at you to do it quicker. With that in mind, it's all the more impressive when a developer can delve into a player's mind. Predicting what a person will do when stepping into the game world they've created takes an immense amount of insight and skill. This is something the following 10 titles were able to do, as each one came with a surprising inclusion that fully anticipated the player's actions. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 video games that knew exactly where you'd go. Number 10. Under the Bridge, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. The thrill of Breath of the Wild is in exploration. No matter where you go, you'll find something interesting at worst and magical at best. The beloved Kakariko Village is a great example of this, as it comes with plenty of unexpected discoveries. One of the strangest of these is a simple apple sitting beneath the village bridge. Players who discovered this doctor-repellent fruit were quickly fascinated by it. Why was it there? Was there anything special about it? Who left it there? And so on. This is why when Nintendo released Tears of the Kingdom years later, the developers knew there'd be plenty of apple hunters headed to that same bridge. Those who made a beeline to the fruit soon found that not only was it indeed present, but it had been joined by a friend. There were now 2 apples beneath the Kakariko Village bridge. The devs paid off this silly little in-joke in a lovingly charming way, telling fans that, yes, we know you love the apple, so here's another apple. Number 9. The Wrong Path, The Stanley Parable. Everyone and their mum, or at least those who like video games, remembers when they faced the first major choice in The Stanley Parable. You walk into a room, see 2 open doors, and hear the narrator famously say, "He entered the door on his left." Developer Davey Redden had a pretty strong idea of where you'd go, but the whole premise of The Stanley Parable comes down to seeing what happens if a player is given the choice to do something outside of what the game's narrative wants them to. It was a meta-narrative game that allowed players to obey or disobey the game's narrator, telling unique stories based on that choice. Simply put, were everyone to have done what they were told, the game would have been pretty decent, but mostly forgettable. But knowing that gamers would charge into the door on the right led Redden to craft a game that defied expectations, and turned out to be pretty surprising. Number 8. The USS Constitution, Fallout 4. The USS Constitution, a big, beautiful ship with a ton of history. But you know what else it has going for it? It's the main subject of one of Fallout 4's best side quests. The last voyage of the USS Constitution is a charming mission that tasks you with repairing and launching the legendary ship. Of course, you can also sabotage the launch if you want to. This is Fallout after all. Sadly, if you decide to help the frigate on her mission to reach the seas, you'll find she doesn't do so well, crashing into a skyscraper and becoming embedded in it following her triumphant launch. Most games would simply have the ship explode, become inaccessible, and be done with it, but Bethesda went a step beyond, as they knew people would want to climb that building and get back on board. You can do this by taking elevators up. The ship's Captain Ironsides will even give you a funky lieutenant's hat as a reward for getting there. It was nice of Bethesda to know players would want to board again, because if there's anything we know about gamers, and especially when it comes to Bethesda open world games, if we can, we will. Number 7. The Door, Garden of Banban. This is a bizarre entry, as unlike many examples on this list, it's not a reward or trick from clever developers who could predict their audience. Instead, it's a genuine mistake the devs knew you'd run into, but didn't bother to fix. For the uninitiated, Garden of Banban is a generic and sloppily built mascot horror series that found surprising success in 2023. You can see the franchise's flaws clearly in the first game's climax, where you need to escape the dreaded Opila bird, a mascot character that chases you down. The way to defeat this stalker enemy is to jump off a platform and press a small button to kill it. However, there's a giant doorway near this button, so many players ran straight towards that. Unfortunately, the devs knew this would happen, so rather than thinking of a way to block it off in the world, they stuck an obnoxious invisible wall there to trap you. They even admitted this during a dev vlog, unapologetically explaining that trying to escape through the logical path would lead to your death. Talk about unfair. Number 6. The Blighted Village Barn, Baldur's Gate 3. Larian Studios' iconic Baldur's Gate 3 is a game so jam-packed full of unexpected experiences and encounters that you knew it would definitely pop up on this list somewhere. While there are plenty of places the devs knew gamers would venture to, one comes with a payoff that'll leave your jaw on the floor. When exploring the Blighted Village in the game's first act, you'll find plenty of bonkers stuff. There's a gnome tied to a windmill, or Barkus, a trio of ogres you can recruit to your cause, and lots of goblins to bully. However, one particularly enticing area is a mysterious barn towards the north of the village, which has some strange sounds emerging from it. Naturally, you just know the devs put something good in there, which makes you desperate to break in. What happens once you do? Well, you catch an ogre and a bugbear bumping uglies in the most literal of senses. Wow. It's a moment as shocking as it is hilarious, and one the devs knew you'd stumble upon. And maybe we wish we hadn't. Number 5. Weskers Desk, Resident Evil 2 Remake. Remakes are fascinating as they need to tread that line between recreating something great and surviving on their own merits. It's hard to think of a better example of this than Capcom's Resident Evil 2 Remake, which blew the minds of both fans and newcomers back in 2019. This game had its cake and ate it too, being its own thing while including plenty of fan service. Perhaps the best example of this is the Rebecca Chambers photo found in Weskers Desk. The original Resident Evil 2 included a weird Easter egg that only the most stubborn of gamers found. It was a photo of Rebecca Chambers in a basketball uniform. To get your hands on it, you had to go to Albert Wesker's desk and search it 50 times. Yes, really. Naturally, many fans were keen to return to the desk in the remake and see if the devs would reward them for their prior knowledge. And reward they certainly did, as this iconic invasion of Rebecca and Wesker's privacy can indeed still be achieved, albeit in a far simpler way. This time around, her sporty photo shoot could be unlocked by looting a film reel from Wesker's desk drawer and developing it. Number 4. The Toilet, Fear and Hunger 2 Termina. There's an unspoken philosophy in gaming that if devs give you the option to do something, you should probably do it, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. That idea has led to many awesome discoveries in unexpected places, but it's also something that the Twisted game dev, Miro Haverinen, creator of Fear and Hunger, has preyed upon. In the first Fear and Hunger game, you will, at some point, stumble upon a bloody toilet hole and be given the option to climb in. Naturally, most players will do just that, thinking, oh, there must be something to find down there. Only thing they find is an inescapable tomb full of poop, death, and of course, shame. Okay, so jumping into a toilet hole wasn't such a good idea then. But there's no way you'd do it again, right? Well, sadly, many gamers did, as the sequel, Fear and Hunger 2 Termina, provided the same option, and there is exactly the same result. Haverinen knew plenty of people would return to that toilet hole to see if things would be different this time around, and so he decided to humble them all over again. Number 3. The Suicide Booth, Futurama the Game. Futurama is a beloved cartoon series known for its irreverent and goofy humor, but sometimes it slaps you across the face with a joke so dark and mean-spirited you'll get whiplash. One of the most infamous of these gags is the suicide booth from the first episode, which is, well, exactly what it sounds like. How does this apply to video games? Well, let's just say the developers of the 2003 Futurama game knew that if they put one of these booths into the title, you'd throw yourself into it without question. Yes, in the new New York levels, you can encounter a few of these machines. Interacting with one leads to your inevitable death, something you'd usually want to avoid. Of course, most players with a knowledge of the show or just a bit of curiosity will head straight into one just to see what happens. The devs knew it would kill you, you knew it would kill you, but you went in anyway. Number 2. The Peephole into Eileen's Room, Silent Hill 4 The Room. No one likes a peeping Tom, and yet the often overlooked Silent Hill 4 The Room all but forces you to become one. That's no accident, as the devs were aware of where you'd be going when stuck in that titular room. Throughout the game, Harry Townsend, the protagonist, is trapped in the haunted and nightmarish Room 302. Within this twisted apartment is a hole in the wall that Harry can look through to spy on his neighbor Eileen. Now, the devs played a masterful trick here, as they knew most players would feel guilty spying on the innocent woman. However, with so little to do in the apartment and the temptation always there, they also knew you probably wouldn't be able to resist checking in every now and again. Naturally, that voyeurism came at a cost. In one of the game's freakiest moments, Eileen's stuffed Robbie the Rabbit toy punished those caught staring by looking right at you, pointing and glaring back. Sure, gazing into Eileen's apartment is optional, but the devs knew players would do it regardless and put this in there to get them. Number 1. The Hidden Sign. GTA 3 and GTA Liberty City stories. This entry will take you on a journey throughout the legendary Liberty City. Okay, journey might be a bit of a stretch, as you'll be going to the same place each time, but it will be completely different upon each visit. So that's very exciting. When looking around a Bedford Point parking lot in GTA 3, some creative parkour can take you to an alleyway that was designed to be inaccessible. Those who make it there will be greeted with a sign left by the developers that reads, "You weren't supposed to be able to get here, you know." It's a great little Easter egg, but when the franchise returned to Liberty City in Liberty City Stories, many gamers wondered if it would still be there, and they were right on the money. The PSP title allowed you to return to this hidden location, but this time the sign read, "Hello again," with an adorable smiley face below it. Going a step further, you could once again find the sign in the game's PS2 port. This time though, it read, "You just can't get enough of this alley, can you?" And no, we could not.